Concerns are growing over the future of more than 250 Ukrainian fighters who surrendered to Russian forces at the Azovstal steelworks in Mariupol. While Ukraine has called for an immediate prisoner swap of the soldiers, Russian officials, on the other hand, have suggested the soldiers could be tried or even executed. Now, according to the Russian Defense Ministry, 265 of them were taken into Russian captivity. The ministry published images showing soldiers on stretchers as the injured were transported to a hospital in the eastern Donetsk region. Russian news agency TASS said the Russian investigative committee is planning to question the soldiers. Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov refused to say whether they would be treated as criminals or prisoners of war. However, Peskov says that President Vladimir Putin has guaranteed that they will be treated according to the relevant international laws. Meanwhile, the Defense Ministry in Kyiv says it was hoping for an exchange procedure to repatriate the Ukrainian heroes as quickly as possible. After the strategic port city of Mariupol fell to Russian forces, a relentless Ukrainian military unit held out under the plant. Ukraine has hailed the soldiers as heroes for stalling Moscow's invasion. Ukraine government is willing to do everything necessary to rescue the undisclosed number of personnel still hauled up in bunkers. But it also admitted there was no military option available. The conflict has left thousands dead and forced millions to flee their homes. Russian forces stand accused of committing war crimes. And to gather evidence of alleged crimes, the International Criminal Court is deploying its largest ever field team to Ukraine. The team includes 42 investigators, forensic experts and support staff. The U.S. State Department has also announced a special unit to research, document and publicize Russian war crimes. And for more on this, we are being joined by our correspondent Chris Jones from Latvia. Chris Jones, good to see you. What is the latest on the situation of the troops who surrendered, and what does this move by the Ukraine's Azov regiment signify in this war?
Yeah, that's right. As you've mentioned, around about 260 Ukrainian troops have left the Azovstal steel plant over the past few hours, 50 of which are gravely wounded or sick and been taken to Russian-controlled hospitals. The other 200 or so are being kept in Russian-controlled towns. Now, depending on who you really listen to, depends on what this is. The Kremlin says that these Ukrainian troops surrendered without conditions. They've also gone as far as to call them war criminals, as you mentioned, and that they should be tried or even executed. Now, Ukraine has a slightly different take. They have hailed those who have left the steel plant as heroes, and they hope that they can be exchanged with Russian captured troops. They said that they told those troops to lay down their arms because their combat mission had ended. Now, Russia hasn't confirmed this as the case, and there are still, of course, Ukrainian troops still inside the steel plants. And more than anything, I think this really signifies the miscommunication and also the failure to cooperate between Ukraine and Russia. We heard that ceasefire talks broke down recently too because neither side were willing to compromise or really talk about ending this war. But as I say, there are still an unknown number of Ukrainian troops left inside the Azovstal steelworks, and Volodymyr Zelensky, the Ukrainian president, says that they are doing everything possible and impossible to get them out.
Chris, let's talk more about this miscommunication between Russia and Ukraine. There's a dilemma whether the soldiers should be treated as criminals or prisoners of war, like you mentioned. Russia is remaining tight-lipped on that. How long will it possibly take till their fate is determined, perhaps?
Well, that's right. We've had this to and fro for quite some months now, haven't we? Really, ever since the war started, Russia wanted to make sure that Ukraine never joined NATO. Of course, that hasn't happened, but we are seeing Finland and Sweden potentially joining NATO there. But Ukraine also just wanted Russia to leave its country and respect its sovereignty. Now, over the past few hours, we've had the latest round of talks break down. Ukraine says that Russia has failed failed to compromise, and Russia says that Ukraine isn't listening to its demands in the slightest. So this real miscommunication or failure to cooperate means that this war is essentially going to drag on for a lot longer, especially as we see Russia actively moving to take over the Donbass region and move to areas of Zaporizhia. So the failure of both of these countries to come to any kind of terms to put in force a ceasefire means that this war really is going to last much longer.
We'll have to leave it there. Thank you very much, Chris Jones, live from Riga, Latvia, for your information today. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.